It's not a Victory Lap podcast, but it is a platform for me to make fun of myself. I will tar and feather myself from time to time, folks. Don't think I won't. And I thought it would be fun to kind of go down memory lane, look at some drafts from the previous years, and talk about some guys that I was just dead wrong about. For better or for worse. Got 5 players. One of them I was wrong in the sense that I thought they were going to suck, and it turns out they're awesome, and I'm devastated. 4 of them are I thought they were going to be awesome, and they sucked. So let's save the one who ended up being good for last, and let's go down the list, talk about some guys who I thought were going to pan out. Let's start with James Bouknight. Coming out of UConn, I knew this guy couldn't pass. I knew this guy couldn't defend. I knew this guy couldn't rebound, but I knew he could score at a really, really high clip. And that's what I was excited about, because I was like, if you put him next to LaMelo Ball, you put him next to this premier setup man, and maybe it's reductive to call LaMelo a setup man because he's a lot more than that. But at the end of the day, I knew he wasn't going to play big minutes, but I thought he was going to play impactful minutes. And then who was it his rookie year that was the coach? And I think he got fired like a year later. Barrega? Was it James Barrega? Borrego? I think it was James Barrega. James Borrego. He was just like in the doghouse, and I thought that's all that it was, because he hated playing rookies. That just like wasn't his MO. That's just not what he liked to do. So I thought that's all that it was, is that Bouknight just had to get some tread on those tires. I was right about him not being able to defend and not being able to rebound and not being able to pass. Turns out he just couldn't really score either. And then as of, 3 weeks ago, he's just not in the NBA anymore. Suffered the same fate as Killian Hayes, getting released, and then teams are like, not right now. We're not interested right now. Maybe in the summer when we need to fill some roster spots. Like, Bouknight and Killian Hayes are the 2 dudes who, if there is another, not Kevin Durant-esque trade, but remember when the Suns they were after the Bradley Beal trade, and they were anybody with a pulse who was willing to be paid for $500,000 for the season, you were like, you got a uniform. That is, I think, the only way that these 2 dudes get on a roster. Unless the Spurs look at Killian and are like, okay, Popovich is like, I think we can do something here. I think that's really the only other, you know what I mean? Dead wrong about Bouknight. Moving on to the next player, KZ Okpala. He had the size, man. He had the frame, and he could defend. He could defend multiple positions in college. And I thought that the length that he had and the versatility that he showed, he had a weird stroke, but, he could shoot. And when he got drafted, I'm thinking to myself, this he culture shit and going out, maybe that's where he was doomed, is getting drafted by Miami isn't what you want to do. You want to be an undrafted free agent who gets signed. So it would have been better off if he didn't get drafted by Miami, but instead slid and didn't get drafted at all. And then afterwards, Miami was like, hey, you want to hop on this summer league team? Maybe that's what he needed. I just thought KZ ended up being really soft. He ended up going to Sacramento, I think, for 4 games. That was it. I think his career high was 17 points, I think, at one point, though. And I remember that so vividly because I thought it was really about to start happening for him, and then it just never did. Moving on, you know who another one was? Jordan Bell. Damn. Kind of just ended up being a really good bench mob guy. Was he the one that threw was it a lob to himself off of the backboard when the Dubs were up by 40 and then Steve Kerr got pissed? Was that him? He was one of those dudes who was just violent around the rim. He kind of played like a more coordinated Thanasis Antetokounmpo. And I thought you just bring in this high energy guy. I thought what Kevon Looney and his career has evolved into with Golden State, I thought it was going to be Jordan Bell. And I cannot believe Kevon Looney. Not that I can't believe he's still in the league, but if you told me, because he got drafted, I think it was the year that Golden State won their first championship in 2015. I think Kevon Looney was their pick that year. I was like, this guy's cooked in 2 years. He's not seeing the end of this first contract. There's no way. Turns out it was actually Jordan Bell who didn't see that. I don't think he got more than 2 contracts in the NBA. Just didn't end up working for him. He just didn't do anything. Again, just a really good bench mob guy, and that was kind of it. Kind of like Dante Jones, although that's not even nice to say about Dante Jones because he at least had a career. He evolved into a really good bench mob guy because he put in the time and actually became a vet and then was just too old and couldn't do anything. But Dante Jones, sneaky was a problem at Duke. That was also way before my time. If you'll indulge me, and I can put in a Detroit Piston in here. Pistons go to the playoffs in 2016. We get swept by Cleveland. Cleveland goes on to win the championship after being down 3-1 against Golden State. Pistons don't have a lottery pick. Whoa, for the first time in probably 8 years. Whoa, we draft Henry Ellenson, versatile power forward from Marquette. And you're thinking to yourself, whoa, did they just pair a dude with Andre Drummond who can shoot threes? Is Reggie Jackson going to have a dude who he can do this pick and pop, I don't know, can Henry Ellenson like even pull from like 15? He could. Or so we thought. And then it turns out, much like Jordan Bell, he just couldn't move. He spent a lot of time in Grand Rapids. Were we still the Drive at the time? Yeah, he would have been with the Drive. I don't even really, it was so far removed from it. I just remember thinking, I remember draft night so vividly being like, whoa, Henry Ellenson, like I can get on board with this. And then you saw him play like 15 minutes. You're like, what the fuck is this? And then he was out of the league. He went to New York for a little bit, and then after that I think he went to Toronto. Did he spend a little bit of time in Brooklyn too, or am I just conflating the Knicks and the Nets? I swear to God he did. Maybe he didn't spend time in Toronto and he was just in Brooklyn, because there's no fucking shot that Henry Ellenson played for 4 NBA teams, but he definitely might have. Moving on to the last guy, a player that I was like, he stinks, don't buy into the hype, don't fall for it. Turns out I was the one who was the idiot. Turns out everybody was right to be excited about him. In his rookie season, quote unquote, technically, he just became the first rookie to ever put up 100 blocks and 100 3-pointers in a single season. And by the way, there is still like a quarter of the season to go. Still like 20 to 25 games left in the season. Chet Holmgren. Yep, I didn't believe it. Part of it was a frame thing. Part of it was a visual thing. Aesthetically, I was like, he just looks gross. I'm just not into it. The old footage of like him versus Victor Wembanyama, when it was like Team USA versus Team France, like the under 17 games that they would do. Dog, it was like watching two skeletons like try to box each other out. It was disgusting. Like if there was no audio anywhere else and you just heard these two dudes like moving around in the paint, it would have been like Lego bricks slapping together. Remember in those Lego Star Wars games when you would like build shit and there was like that Lego clicking sound? That's probably what it sounds like when Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren try to fucking box each other out. Yeah, Chet Holmgren is sick, dude. Like, he can sneaky do everything. And I think what sucks for him is because this is his rookie year, because he missed all of last season, he's gonna lose Rookie of the Year. Like, he just is. I don't care if the Spurs suck. I don't care if the Thunder are actually, like, the best team in the NBA, or if not, you know, one of the best teams in the NBA. They might end the season with the 1 seed in the West. It just doesn't matter. It's gonna be Victor Wembanyama because it's a narrative award. And that's who people have already made up their minds that are going to win. I'm only saying this to say, Chet Holmgren would have cleaned house a season ago. Well, we like to think he would have. Maybe that extra year of, you know, being able to, you know, be in the gym and be around these guys, maybe that helped him. But you look at, like, last year, Paolo Banchero is another guy I could have thrown on this list of somebody who I was like, yeah, fine. But, like, number 1 pick? Like, I don't know. I don't know about that. Nope, wrong. Should have gone number 1. Good thing that he did. But he would not have won Rookie of the Year if Chet Holmgren was in that class. He just wouldn't have. Because we were all kind of scratching our heads by the end of the year. Like, I guess we're going to give it to Paolo. I don't know. Chet Holmgren is, he's smooth, dude. He's fluid. He can do it at all 3 levels. He can do it at both ends. He's got a nice little handle. When he goes on these hot streaks, it feels slightly reminiscent, and maybe I'm off base here. You know, there are a few players in the league who, when they go on a heater, it kind of just happens like that. It's really quick, and you'll look at the box score 1 second, and you're like, okay, they got 7 points, like, that's cool. And then what feels like 2.5 minutes later in real time, you look again, and they're already at 16. I think of, like, Pascal Siakam. Like a dude who just heats up like immediately. Chet Holmgren's got a little bit of that in him on some nights, like when he really goes for it, when he really goes crazy. He just had one the other night where he was like 23, 8, and 7 or something. And it was just kind of everything everywhere all at once. I really like him. I'm devastated that I like him. I think it's awesome that Shea has that, you know, that 1-2 or technically that 1-5, 1-4. Where are we with Shea winning Defensive Player of the Year? Because it's going to be Rudy Gobert. It will. And I would also argue, you know, it sucks that Shea just won't be in the conversation for, you know, we talked in the last episode about who the face of the league is going to be moving forward once this, the Stephs and the KDs and the LeBrons of the world, once that class is out of here, you know, who is it going to be that we look at? I think it sucks that we're just not going to look at Shea, because I think there is a very compelling argument that it should be him, but I think he's too reserved. Like, he just keeps to himself too much. The only times you really see him are when it's like Fashion Week in Milan, which is fine because, like, yes, he's first team all League Fits. If he retired today, he would go into the League Fits Hall of Fame. Hell, he might go into the Basketball Hall of Fame since the Basketball Hall of Fame sucks. No, he actually wouldn't. I'm kidding. Yeah, I say all that just to say I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't love Chet Holmgren, but he's really, really good.
Computers now have
Let's
primary control.
Beautiful, beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful,
Primary control.
beautiful.